I feel like a perpetual outsider. So says my friend Maria Cristina, who gave me permission to share her experience. Maria Cristina continues, as a little kid, I was the only one in the house who didn't speak Spanish because my grandmother refused to teach it to me because she wanted me to grow up to be a real American, not a Mexican American. What a loss of my beautiful culture. Maria Cristina continues, once we moved out of the barrio, I was the only Latina in my elementary school. I was so clearly not white, but I didn't feel like anyone taught me how to be a Latina. I felt like a perpetual outsider. Walking home from church on Sunday, I was the only one who questioned what the pastor preached from the pulpit. That didn't go over well. Maria Cristina continues, in high school, it felt like I was the only queer kid in the classroom, although I know now that couldn't be true. In my after-school job, I was the only teenager who dreamed of college. At college, I felt like I was the only one without friends because I was new to Fresno, but I had no time to make friends, always working my 3 jobs and studying the rest of the time, just trying to get through. Maria Cristina pauses, then sighs. Now, 12 years later, and with a family of my own, I feel like I'm the only one in my Fresno neighborhood who doesn't go to a megachurch, and the only one who actually cares about climate change. I've always felt like a perpetual outsider, always on the outside looking in at those who have found a way to belong. But I'm not going to give up who I am in order to find a way to belong. Starhawk, the celebrated theorist of feminist neo-paganism and ecofeminism, writes, we are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned, we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community, community, community. Somewhere there are people whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing. A circle of friends, some place where we can be free. Unitarian Universalists and those who are exploring Unitarian Universalism for the first time often live in a tension between the pool of belonging and the pool of independence. We've lived long enough outside the religious norm to be a bit distrustful of anything that feels like organized religion, and we prize our own originality, our free thinking, and we aren't going to compromise our individual authentic self. But we also have some part of us that doesn't want to do the spiritual and personal path on our own. We crave more than just ourselves. We crave a place and a people where we can be free and belong. A place and a people that looks at us, that sees us, that says to us in the words of Libby Roderick, how could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected. How deeply you're connected to my soul. Brené Brown writes, belonging is the innate human desire to be part of something larger than us. Would you be willing to say that with me? Belonging is the innate human desire to be part of something larger than us. Belonging is the innate human desire to be part of something that is larger and longer than us. The long process known as evolution transformed this desire for connection into an essential part of what it means to actually be human. As quoted in the blog The Marginalian, neuroscientist Matthew D. Lieberman, director of UCLA's Social Cognitive Neuroscience Lab, says that our desire to belong, our human need for connection, our sociality is woven into a series of bets that evolution has laid down again and again throughout mammalian history. These bets come in the form of adaptations that are selected because they promote survival and reproduction. These adaptations intensify the bonds we feel with those around us and increase our capacity to predict what is going on in the minds of others so that we can better coordinate and cooperate with them. The pain of social loss and the ways that an audience's laughter can influence us are no accidents. To the extent that we can characterize evolution as designing our modern brains, this is what our brains are wired for, reaching out to and interacting with others. Summer Allen, writing in the online Greater Good magazine, lifts up the social baseline theory of psychologists James Cone and David Sabara. Summer Allen summarizes that social baseline theory suggests that the human brain operates under the assumption that our interactions with others are a vital resource that helps us stay safe and meet our goals. She quotes Cone and Sabara. At its simplest, social baseline theory suggests that proximity to social resources decreases the cost of climbing both the literal and figurative hills we face, because the brain construes social resources as bioenergetic resources, much like oxygen or glucose. Summer concludes, this suggests that when we don't have access to social connections, we shift our cognitive and biological resources to focus more on ourselves, leading to distress, ill health, and limited achievement. When our lives are rich in social connection, however, we can move mountains. And indeed, we are happier, healthier, and more successful. When our lives are rich in social connection, we are happier, we are healthier, and more successful. I think that this is one reason so many of us struggled, really struggled, in the height of the pandemic. We were isolated, cocooned away from each other, cocooned away from connection. We lost the ties that bind. We lost the connections vital to being human. We lost the experience of belonging, and that creates anxiety, so much anxiety that so many of us are feeling every day today. It also creates the depression that so many of us are also wrestling with. I believe that this loss of connection is why so many of our previously vibrant elders faded away during that time, those first months and year of the pandemic. Those elders so used to connection, so vital, failed to thrive. And some of them passed into the mysteries of death. They died, not of COVID, but of COVID-created connection deficit disorder. May they rest in peace and dance forever in our memories. If our brains are wired for connection, how do we find that sense of belonging? One thing that opens us up to the experience of belonging is allowing ourselves to actually be longing. Be longing, as in yearning for something. We must give ourselves permission to be in a state of longing. Writer David White defines the experience of longing in poetic language that takes my breath away because of its beauty and its evocativeness. David White writes, "Longing is the transfiguration of aloneness, the defenseless interior secret core of a person receiving its overdue invitation from the moon, the stars, the night horizon, and the great tidal flows of life and love. Longing is divine discontent, the unendurable presence, finding a physical doorway to awe and discovery that frightens and emboldens, makes us into pilgrim souls, and sets us on some road that starts at the center of the body and then leads out like a comet's passing tail. Longing is felt. It's felt through the lens and even the ache of the body, magnifying and bringing the horizon close, as if the horizon were both a lifetime's journey away and living deep inside us at some unknown core, as if we were coming home into a beautifully familiar, condensed strangeness. To be longing is to make ourselves vulnerable. Vulnerable to life, vulnerable to each other, vulnerable to change, vulnerable to the unknown. What is it? What is it that you long for? Let's take a collective deep breath into that question. Let's just breathe in and breathe out. What is it that you long for. David White continues, longing has its own secret future destination and its own seasonal emergence from within, a ripening from the core, a seed growing in our bodies. It is as if we're put in relationship with an enormous distance inside us, leading back to some unknown origin with its own secret timing indifferent to our wills, and gifted at the same time with an intimate sense of proximity to a future, a transformation, a life we want for ourselves and to the beauty of the sky and the ground that surrounds us. David White concludes, longing is nothing without its dangerous edge that cuts and wounds us while setting us free and beckons us exactly because of the human need to invite the right kind of peril, the foundational instinct that we are here essentially to risk ourselves in the world, that we are a form of invitation to others, that we are meant to hazard ourselves for the right thing or for a gift given against all the odds. In longing, we move and are moving from a known but abstracted elsewhere to a beautiful, about to be reached someone, something, or somewhere we want to call our own. My dear ones, may we give ourselves permission to be longing. But out of that longing, may we also create a place where others can belong. And if you are longing to belong here in this place, know that we are a people, a church community that says to you, in the words of Reverend Gretchen Haley, bienvenido a casa, welcome home. For this one moment, know only that you are loved, that you are safe and whole and loved here among us, here upon this earth in your body. However tired or broken your heart may be, you are not alone. No está solo. We are not alone. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.